Today I'll show you how you can find yourself around Godot. Here on the left side you can see a scene tree where you can create your scenes, like world, player, enemies and so on. Each of them will be an own scene which will be integrated to your game. At the beginning I like to create a 2D scene as in most of my games I use to make 2D games. So when we start to make a 2D node, then we can add easy shards, and these are all the nodes you can add also to this tree. Nodes are like classes, and each node has their properties which are already inbuilt. For example, a node 2D has just the standard properties such as position, rotation, scale, skew, and so on, and that's already it. When you have, for example, a sprite 2D, like this one, you see you have also like position, rotation, scale, and skew, but because this sprite is not just a node 2D, it's also a sprite 2D, it also has like texture, offset, animation, and region, which gives you the opportunity to add, like here in this time, for example, you can add a texture to this node and it will be displayed as a, in this case, an emerald. On the left side, you will also find these buttons. Which one you will use the most will be this one, for example. Here you can add a new child node. You can also add a child node when you click on this node as Ctrl A, or you press with a right click and say add child node. You also have this one here, this attach a new script to this node. So when these properties and these methods which are connected to this class are not enough for you and you want to add new methods, you can easily do it by attach a new script. You have created a player scene, for example, where you have this character body 2D node, which also stores a collision shape 2D node and also a sprite 2D node for show it as visually. And when we want to add a script here, we can do it by simply press this button above. I like to give it always the exact same name like we have here. And then we'll create it in the exact same folder like we would save this scene. Now you can see here in the middle, there's a new window which opens. And yeah, here's also a inbuilt code inside, which will help you to just have a basic movement for 2D games, but like side scroller, jump and runs. But for that later. Here in the middle, you have different windows. You have, as one time, you have the 2D window, you have the 3D window, you have the script window, and the asset library. For you, important when you create a 2D game is only the 2D and the script. And maybe this one, and when you're a bit advanced, you can use also this one. Or if you want to add add-ons to your game, which will help you with a few things, to make a few things easier, you can just download them here. On the left side, you will have the file system also, which shows actually just all the files you have for your game, such as PNGs, scenes, scripts, and so on. And I prefer to order them by scenes and also type, like resources will be also stored in another folder. Here on the right side, you can see the inspector, node, and history. What does it do? When you click on one of these nodes on the left side, you can see here, for example, this character body 2D has different properties, which will be, which you will see here. Collision, input, transform, and so on, all the properties which are related to this character body. And then you also have this node tab. In this node tab, you see all the signals, which will be called by this node when something happens, when an event happens. But more about that later. At the bottom, you see an output, a debugger, audio, animation, and shader tab. which you will use will be most likely the output and debugger tab. In the output tab, as you can see here, will see all the changes you've done here in Godot, and in the debugger tab, which is very helpful to find bugs in your game. One tip at the beginning is, which helps me a lot to begin with a project, beside by following tutorials or beside by get help from forums and Google and everything, was when I've learned how to use the documentary inside Godot. You can do it by simply click with a CTRL left click on a code snippet like move and slide. This is a method in this example. Or you can also do it by right click a node and say open documentation. What you will see here is very, very straightforward in my opinion, but you can see here the class is a sprite 2D in this example. Here you have a short description, what does a sprite 2D has and what does it do. And here you have a list of all the properties like centered, flip edge, flip V, frame, and so on. And each of this property has a property type, which you see here on the left side. So when you want to set flip H, for example, you have to set it as a bool, like true or false. If you want to set frame, you have to set it as an int, like a number, without, which is not a float, which is a whole number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. And here you have vector 2s, for example, an offset, and these are like coordinates. Underneath, you will find methods. A sprite 2D has actually just two inbuilt methods. This is getRect and is pixel opaque. What you have to know is, if you want to know what this method does, you can also click on them. And then you have here also a small description. Maybe it will do exactly that, what you need from this sprite at the moment. And then here's also an example how you can get the data from this sprite 2D node. And when you have here getRect, this is the name of the method which you have to call. And on the left side is the property type which you will got out of this method. So when you call getRect, you will get a rect2. If you have is pixel opaque, you can see there's something inside the bracket. In this case, an vector2. That means when you call this function or this method, nothing will happen until you put a vector2 inside here. This could be, for example, the current position of the sprite 2D. This could be a position of something else. Something what makes the most sense for you. And at the end, you will get a bool. That means true or false. Beside the methods, every class also has like signals, which are also very interesting, because you have, for example, in sprite 2D, you have frame changed and texture changed. That means when these events like frame changed or texture changed will be called by the player, for example, frame changed because an animation was starting playing, or texture change because the player starts to change the color, not the color, but the type of the hair. So this one will be called. That means here will be another PNG loaded in, like when I do this here, for example, then this signal will be called, and this will be sending out data, or like a you can imagine it like a shock or like a burst. And every method, this one, which is connected to the signal, will get this signal and will be called for one time. And if everything what this method wants, then it will do what the method is supposed to do. This is very interesting. Okay, that was actually it from my side. I hope I can help you with a few questions you had. If you have more questions, please drop them down in the comments. And if you want to know something furthermore, for example, signals or methods, then I can do a separated video about it, and I hope you have a lot of fun with your first project of your Godot game.